Welcome to Quiet Scare, where the whispers are getting louder during the day. Built for leaning in, not drifting off. True accounts narrated into fiction, a blend of truth with a little creative mystery. Although the channel is best known for its sleep-friendly horror, the current collection is better suited for an active daylight listen. Spot these episodes, you'll see a sun icon on the thumbnail image, and the title will say "Not for Sleep." The quiet in the day is not empty. I grew up doing inventory in a parking lot that smelled like hot brake dust and fryer oil. My mom's warehouse sat at the end of a commercial strip, where lunch breaks meant eating in your car and daring the gulls to take your fries. On the far edge of our lot, a chain-link fence sagged over a disused spur. The rails were the color of old pennies and ran straight into a berm of dirt and weeds. Everyone called the wall. Past that, the line just stopped. It was a dead thing. Late afternoon was our lull. The forklifts were docked. The office ladies had their purses zipped and their water bottles standing in a row like soldiers. Mom did her route with the clipboard warehouse loading bay, parking lot like she could keep the building upright as long as her pen kept moving. I was 11 and on line of sight duty, which meant keep your body where she could see it and don't get clever around forklifts. The building made people uneasy, not haunted like a story, just heavy like it knew your weight. Lint hung in the fluorescence. The hum never stopped. Wind knifed through the docks and made the bay doors shiver. We didn't talk about it. You just didn't leave your back to the roll-up door if you could help it. I was leaning on the warm hood of our van, chewing a bent straw from the soda machine that never gave exact change. When the light shifted, it went from indoor bright to movie bright, like somebody slid a dimmer. The air got sharp, and my tongue tasted like I'd licked a battery. I looked up because the parking lot told me to. The shadows moved wrong, out past the fence. Something blue rounded the bend, where there wasn't a bend anymore. At first it was a smear of paint behind chain link, the kind of blue you only see in bad logos or fresh murals. Then the blue resolved into a body. A body resolved into a vehicle. The vehicle sat on the rails. It was bright as a jaybird, polished like it had rolled out of a showroom that morning, and it wasn't a car the way anyone used the word around me. Low, rounded, chrome like a belt that both shows off and holds your life together. The term that would come later was railcar, but at 11 I only knew a train, but not the kind you see now. It moved like it owned the rails. A single car, gliding, through the side windows. I saw faces, not silhouettes. Hair with a shine, women's dresses ending mid-calf, men in narrow-brimmed hats with ties wide and blunt like bandages. It all looked like it should be sepia, but the color was too clean. A woman's glove, paper white lifted to adjust a hat pin. The fussy movement made everything worse because it was ordinary. I didn't shout for Mom. The sound in my head cinched tight. I stepped away from the van, sun on asphalt. A Sunday feel even though it wasn't. I put my hand on the fence and felt the grit of oxidized metal grind into my palm. The blue car rolled closer and something clicked in the back of my teeth. The fence hummed. Not loud, just enough for my feelings to notice. Mom stepped out the side door, still writing, pen in her mouth, clipboard to her chest. She saw me first, then my eyes, then the track. She froze on the concrete lip. The pen fell and clacked. She didn't step down. The operational signature, if you want to call it that, was the light. It changed before the thing appeared, and again as it slid past. The lot flinched. Sunlight thinned for a breath, then snapped back a shade too bright, like a screen that hiccuped and reloaded. It did it again as the blue car came even with us. Later, when we compared notes, Mom swore the fence diamond shadows crossed the van's hood twice in the exact same pattern, like a loop. Warm steel and something sweet like machine oil hung in the air. The windows were clean enough to show me as a dull shape. The passengers didn't look at us. They looked past us down the line. No mouths moved that I could see. A man checked a watch. Another man's hat brim cut his cheek into a sharp fraction. The white glove smoothed the skirt. The wheels didn't clatter. They whispered. I hated that, whispering on rails that had been swallowing weeds for years. Weeds don't move for ghosts. Without deciding to, I paced the fence to keep up with it. Gravel shifted under my sneakers. The chain link pressed diamonds into my palm, until my skin made a mold of the past. Mom finally said my name once, flat and low, the voice you use when you need a kid to remember their legs. I didn't move. The car slid past the loading docks, past the stack of busted pallets we swore we'd haul, past the red-striped barrier at the lot's end that always leaned a little. It kept going toward the wall. That's when my brain tried to help. Maybe there was a spur I'd missed. Maybe the wall wasn't solid. Maybe the city had done a restoration and forgot to send a letter. The parking lot did not care about any of that. The light hiccuped again. The sun hung right over our roof corner. The hot smell thinned under something colder, wet, cellar deep, and then the blue car didn't slow. I braced for noise. Screech. Tearing. The scream of metal saying no. Nothing screamed. The car went straight into where the rails ended and kept moving like the dirt had agreed to be air for it. It wasn't a vanish, not a trick of angle. The body of the car entered the space where the world said no, and the world didn't say no out loud. The blue roof slipped under last. The light went normal. My hand hurt. I'd been gripping the fence too long. The diamonds on my palm rose red and puffy like a rash. Mom finally moved down off the step onto the asphalt. She walked to the fence and grabbed the top bar, pulled herself up like she'd been doing pull-ups in secret, and for one breath I thought she'd go over. She eased back, her jaw set as she stared at the end of the track. "It's a deadline," she said. She didn't look at me. "It ends at the wall. Your grandfather loaded pig iron out here. They pulled the switch years ago. It's dead." I nodded because she needed the nod. We stood with the fence buzzing its ghost buzz between what we'd seen and what we were supposed to believe. The loading bay lights clicked off, on, off, then caught up with real time. That part was new. Mom's pen lay by her shoe. She didn't pick it up. I pulled my phone because that's what a person does now. I thumbed the camera and filmed the blank track. Chain link, rust, weeds. The image wavered once, like heat over asphalt. No freeze, no glitch. Just a strip of nothing sensible. Saved. Later at the kitchen table, my cousin said it looked like an art department's idea of the past, which wasn't useful, but wasn't wrong either. Mom's unease slid back into her working voice. She walked the lot, locks, doors, bay chains like she could bolt down the world. She did one extra loop, warehouse, loading bay, parking lot, and I followed because I always followed. We stopped by the fence without saying we were stopping. She set the clipboard on the van's hood and leaned on it with both hands. "Run what you saw," she said. So I did. The light, the faces, the glove, the rails moving under something that shouldn't have been there. One piece. Whisper, not rattle. The smell. I kept it literal because dressing it in metaphor would have made it lie. She told me about the wall, when they stopped sending cars, how the end was filled with dirt, where the switch used to be, and how the city cut and welded it shut and paved over the wound. She said it again. Dead. The light hiccuped one more time, fast as a blink. The fence shadow stuttered across the van's hood. We both saw it. We didn't say a word. The building behind us hummed like a freezer waking. We went inside because the office clock said the day still had hours, even if mine felt used up. I helped Mom finish aisle 7. Bolts, washers, those plastic bins that never stack right. Fluorescence buzzed through the open door. The building's stale cool put a flat palm on the back of my neck. I kept looking up even when I didn't want to. At close, we shut the bay doors and locked the side gate. The sun slid down behind the warehouse across the alley. Mom clicked off the dock lights one by one. The last thing we saw before we left was the fence shadow crawling toward the van and stopping. No stutter that time. It just settled like a napkin. We didn't talk on the drive home. The van smelled like coffee and cardboard. The blue of the rail car sat behind my eyes like I'd stared too long and burned a spot in my vision. At a red light, Mom tapped the steering wheel in a short, tight pattern she only used when she wanted the world to hold still. She didn't look at me. She said, "I saw it." Then she bit the inside of her cheek and quit talking. I slept in my clothes because bedtime was closer than usual, and changing felt like admitting I was done looking. In the morning, The video was still fence and weeds. I took it to Mom while she tore coupons at the counter, because her hands hate empty too. We watched it together. No blue car, no white glove, just sunlight, a hum, a shadow that refuses to tell on itself. When the store opened, we went back because that's what we do. The building sat there heavy and plain, pressing the air into a shape you can't file a complaint about. The rails ran out where they always did. The wall was a wall. I pressed my hand to the fence and felt the same grit. The shadow didn't stutter. I know what impossibility feels like now. It isn't thunder or a chorus. It's a clean edge in a regular afternoon. It's a bright blue body gliding where physics forgets to object. It's a mother and daughter standing at a fence they can both pull themselves over, watching a past event move in present light, then breathing as the lot clicks back into place like nothing happened. I tell it simple, because simple is how it happened. The rail is dead. We saw a train, both sitting one day without canceling. The only thing that moved wrong twice, then 3 times, was the light. And now, every time we park by the fence and the afternoon thins for half a breath, the lot feels like a throat clearing, like it's about to cough up its other track again. And this time, maybe not let it pass through.